Let me tell you, I never expected a story like this to come crashing into my quiet life, the kind of story that crawls under your skin and refuses to let go. You know what I mean? I was standing in my workshop that morning, whittling away at a piece of maple, wood shavings spiraling down like little snowflakes, the air thick with the smell of sawdust, and last night's regrets when I caught a glimpse of a black BMW gliding up my driveway, looking about as out of place in Millbrook as a tuxedo at a backyard barbecue. The man who stepped out wore a suit that probably cost more than my pickup, clutching a manila envelope like it was the last thing keeping him from falling apart. He didn't knock. He just stood there, trembling, his shoes scraping on the porch, desperation radiating off him like heat. "My daughter hasn't moved in 6 months," he said, voice cracked and raw. "The doctors, they say there's nothing more to be done." I set down my knife, opened the door, and, for a second, it was like looking in a mirror, hollow eyes, all hope wrung out. "Let me help her," I found myself saying, even though I'd spent 2 years hiding in this small Connecticut town, hoping the world had forgotten Dr. Michael Stone, the man who used to believe he could fix anything except his own life. Thing is, Millbrook was built for secrets. They pile up here like autumn leaves. No one rakes too deep. Through the thin walls, I heard my daughter Emma humming, getting ready for school, her voice the only thread tying me to the half-life I'd managed to cobble together out of grief and wood glue. Outside, the stranger's BMW cooled beside beat-up trucks, the symbol of a world I'd sworn off. I recognized him. Of course, Richard Wellington, CEO, plastered on billboards, a man who was supposed to have every answer money could buy. And yet, here he was, broken, asking a broken man for a miracle. "You got the wrong person," I said, but we both knew I was lying. The news had been full of his daughter's accident 16, honor student, car wrapped around an oak on a rain-slicked road. Wellington's hands shook as he handed me that envelope, voice gaining strength as he spilled all the places he'd gone. Swiss clinics, German stem cells, faith healers, and meditation. $3 million chasing hope. Nothing worked. She's not just paralyzed. She's given up. He looked at me like a man about to drown, and all I could think about was the day my own wife died under my hands on an operating table, the day I put down the scalpel and ran. I want to tell him doctors can't bring back the dead, can't fix what's already shattered, but I let him inside anyway. Later, we met at the park, just two fathers, sitting under a tree raining gold leaves. Richard showed me photos of Sarah, once vibrant, eyes bright, a science fair trophy in her hands, dreaming of Harvard and medicine. The next picture, her in a hospital bed, pale and still, surrounded by machines. "She stopped fighting," he whispered. "I'm watching her die a little every day." I asked, half angry, "Why do you think I can help when the best minds at Harvard can't?" He handed me a yellowed newspaper clipping, years ago, lauded for breakthrough spinal cord research, back when I still believed in vision and the future. All I saw now was the shadow of Elena, my wife, and the lives I failed to save. Richard wasn't asking for a doctor, wanted someone who knew what it meant to lose everything and still get out of bed in the morning. Against every self-preserving instinct, I agreed to meet Sarah, with no promises, no guarantees. The Wellington Mansion was a monument to grief, grand, cold, a mausoleum for dreams money couldn't resurrect. Rosa, the housekeeper, greeted me with the gentle exhaustion of someone who's watched a family slowly come undone. She told me about Sarah's mother, gone too soon, about the empty shell the house had become. She led me to Sarah's room upstairs, door closed, music drifting through the cracks, the kind of music that aches. Inside, Sarah sat by the window in her state-of-the-art wheelchair, staring out like she could will herself elsewhere. "You can leave now," she said, flat, unblinking, not even bothering to look at me. I don't need another speech. I didn't move. I just stood, taking in the posters, the unread get well cards, the photo of her at a track meet, arms raised in victory once upon a time. "I'm not here to fix you," I said quietly. "Sometimes bad things just happen, and there's no meaning unless you make some after." For the first time, a flicker of interest broke through. "Then why are you here?" she asked. "Because maybe we're both lost," I replied, "and it helps to be lost together. We talked for an hour about anything but the accident. Books, my daughter, art, life. Her wall didn't crumble, but a brick or two came loose. She admitted she used to paint, but didn't see the point anymore. Her hand shook. What if you could create something else? I offered, pulling up a photo of one of my carvings. Wood's forgiving. Mistakes become features. Want to try? She eyed me, skeptical, but beneath the anger, I saw the same hunger to make something that mattered. Fine, she said, but don't patronize me, don't give me speeches, and if I say go, you go. I agreed. Next morning, I brought her outside for the first time in months. She balked at first, afraid of stairs, of hope. But under the gold-red leaves, I put a chunk of basswood in her hands, showed her the grain, the warmth, the living memory in every line. Wood never dies. It just becomes something new, I said, putting my grandfather's old carving knife in her grip. She fumbled the first cut curse softly. Look, I said, what if that mistake isn't a problem, but a beginning? She considered. I could make it part of the design. And so she did. That's how it started. Days became weeks. She carved birds, flowers, tiny trees. Her hands steadied. Her eyes brightened. She started reading again, called Old Friends. Life crept back in. Then came the twist I never saw coming. One afternoon, her knife slipped, and I caught her hand out of pure habit, checking her pulse, asking questions, my old training surfacing. She caught it, too. You're not just some woodworker. What kind of doctor were you? I knew I couldn't keep hiding. I confessed. Neurosurgeon, spinal injuries, experimental research, my career ruined by my own tragedy. She was angry, hurt, betrayed, thinking I'd been using her as a case study. I looked her in the eyes and told her the truth. I wasn't here to experiment. I saw myself in her, the fire, the loss, the need to find purpose again. I didn't come to fix you, I said. I came to remember how to help, how to care, without the pressure of being perfect. Our peace didn't last. Morrison from Johns Hopkins showed up, bringing with him scans of Sarah's brain, showing real neural changes, proof the carving was more than therapy. Suddenly, Sarah felt like a lab rat again, and trust shattered all over. You used me, she whispered, rolling away before I could explain. Morrison painted me as a reckless genius, and Richard, as a desperate father, was left standing in the ruins of his best intentions. Days passed before Sarah would see me again, this time, with her neurologist as a witness. She wanted facts, not feelings. What had I done? What had I hoped? What did the scans mean? I told her everything, me theory that fine motor work could rewire the brain, that maybe, just maybe, her carving had sparked something new. But I reminded her, the creativity, the art, the return to life, those were hers alone. Spring brought a miracle wrapped in anxiety. Sarah felt tingling in her leg. At first, everyone thought it was phantom pain, but tests showed new neural pathways forming. Not a full cure, not a fairy tale, but something the textbooks called impossible. Researchers flooded in. Sarah, now wise to the cost of hope, demanded full transparency, patient rights, real consent, no more secrets. Her case changed more than just her own life. New hospital policies, new conversations about ethics. Her story on the news, at conferences. People started talking about not just recovery, but dignity. I was given a chance to keep working, but only with full oversight, full honesty, lesson learned the hard way. As Sarah's body slowly remembered itself, as her world grew bigger, so did her voice. She spoke at Harvard about trust and transparency, about the difference between healing and manipulation. Reporters asked if she'd trade her experience for a different outcome. She said she regretted the lies, but not the growth. Sometimes good things come from bad beginnings, if you're willing to own your mistakes and change. A year later, Sarah walks short distances on crutches. The old house is alive with laughter, neighborhood kids coming over for carving lessons. Emma still visits, younger but somehow wiser than the rest of us, whispering truths we're still figuring out. Sometimes, broken things become more beautiful than they were before, but only when we stop pretending they're not broken and work together to build something new. So what do you think? Was Michael Stone wrong for keeping secrets, even if it led to healing? Can trust ever be truly rebuilt? Or does every scar tell its own story forever? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what justice, forgiveness, and real healing mean to you.